Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host on today's episode. And today on the show, I have Rob Lewis, CEO of Intex, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that he has faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. Welcome, Rob. So great to see you and
Hey,
meet.
Kate, nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Yes, well, before we dive into all things business, I'd love to share a little bit about you. So feel free to share a bit about yourself.
Let me give a quick background. It goes quite far. I'm getting quite old now, I'm afraid. Lots of gray hair. But I started off life as a stockbroker back in the late 80s, and I did sort of 12 years in that industry in the late 80s, early 90s. Pretty good years. We had the George Soros trying to take down the British pound. We had the formation of the EU. There was the junk bond king, the Michael Milken scandal way back in the sort of late 80s. And so it was kind of an interesting time. We had the whole transition to the internet. During that process of being a stockbroker, I started South Africa's first online stock brokerage and extended that into the UK also, which we IPO'd and sold off at in 2001. And then fell into the insurance industry, like I think everybody who's in the insurance industry. It all happens by mistake. And along the way, my brother and I bought an insurance carrier. We needed insurance software, so I brought in my old pal from the online stockbroking business. We built the software and spun it out into a separate company. And here we sit 20 years later, having just entered the US 3 years ago with our business Intex, which is a provider of policy administration software to the insurance industry, the property and casualty industry. And that's pretty much been the journey. Most of it spent as a carrier, as an insurance carrier, but that experience has worked well for the insurance software side.
Oh, wow. Well, before we dive in, you had me at South Africa. I actually lived in South Africa.
Oh my gosh, that is brilliant. Where did you live?
I was in Limpopo, so about
Oh
2 hours
gosh,
from Johannesburg. Yeah,
very refreshing to meet someone who didn't live in Johannesburg or Cape Town. Limpopo, great place. That's fantastic.
it was. It was gorgeous. And I was there for 3 months and then did some traveling, went down to my favorite spot is Stellenbosch.
Oh, awesome. It is still very nice. Good wine.
Yes, the
Great
wine
place.
got me. The wine country was gorgeous. So that is so fun. So you originally from South Africa?
I absolutely grew up there. I was eighth generation South African. Well, my children were I was seventh generation. So it's very interesting. Oh, coincidental, I must say, very interesting.
Definitely. Well, let's kind of take it back.
Yeah,
I just had to shout that out because
thank
that's
you.
not
No,
every
brilliant. Good
day.
to hear. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, so right now it's I'd love to break down your kind of your ownership structure. Did you mention a partner, a business partner? Is it solely
Um, so that I've got a partner in the business, which is my brother. We pretty much partner on everything we do in the insurance sector. My brother's still very much involved in the carrier side, but more in the London market, Bermuda, Europe, and we provide software to them also, which is quite nice. He's quite a tough client, but on our side here, I'm pretty much the founder and the funder of the business, but all our employees are partners in the business and shareholders. So um, ultimately, there's about 15% that's in employees' hands, which probably go as high as 30% in coming years.
okay, that's good to know. So how many employees do you currently have?
We have a total of 57 at the moment. We actually talking about South Africa, long story, but basically during COVID, when we started putting this business together, we couldn't get a visa to enter the country, or I couldn't. So I built a dev team in South Africa together with our COO who's been in the industry a long time. And purely because we couldn't get access to the country, even tourist visas were an issue in those days.
Mhm.
So we started building a team. They worked out very well. Obviously, once we came here and started building a dev team here, we didn't want to kick them out and say, well, you've served your purpose. So we still maintain a team down there, fairly smallish team, but a total of 57 employees across the group, or across the company.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. And so
Hmm.
looking at your company, who do you currently serve? You mentioned insurance, but are you B2B or B2C? Kind of what's that look like?
Yeah, I think I mean, you've kind of nailed it. It's a good question. It's an excellent question because there's so many multiple aspects to insurance. So typically property and casualty specialty insurers. And what's happened is where the software came from was markets. like the UK, like across Africa, where most insurers have a fairly low capital base, so they rely heavily on reinsurance, and most of them still have to provide specialty insurance. The US is a slightly different market in that most of the carriers here are very well capitalized, lots of access to capital, all very large, and they don't rely as heavily on reinsurance. However, with all the natural catastrophes we've seen, be it the floods we've had here in Texas, be it the hurricanes that we face in Florida, the insurance carriers have started to rely heavily on reinsurance. We have a very strong reinsurance component to our product. And so we serve specialty carriers that are looking at oil and gas, flooding risk, maritime risks, aviation. All of those really do, all of those types of carriers really suit our software and property and casualty, as I mentioned.
Okay. Okay. I'm taking a couple notes. All right. So that sounds like you've got a lot going on. You've got a lot in your wheelhouse. So what is your like what's a typical day-to-day look like for you as the CEO?
It there's a lot going on, but I think from my aspect, I've I've got an incredible team. That's one thing I'll say. I mean, there's a lot to be a lot of people have a lot to say about millennials and younger people. I'll say that I've got a total different experience. I find young people super motivated, very smart, a lot smarter than I was when I was their age. Um, in terms of, motivation, they're more motivated than I ever was. They certainly don't need as much direction. I think what my role mainly as a CEO is just clearing any static and obstacles for them. Generally, most of our team do know what they want, and I'm talking about younger guys. These are mostly technology, programmers, developers. And so long as I can clear any obstacles in their path and make sure they've got their tools, generally they'll do it. My day is kind of, I'm very religious about getting in at 8 and finishing at 5, no matter what happens. But, obviously there's dinners, there's sometimes earlier calls because we do provide software into the UK and Bermuda markets and some European markets. So sometimes we've got those very early calls, but it's not incredibly mad hours. I think our team, are very focused on making sure that between 8 and 5, we're accessible. And, and basically, that's what it is. So as I say, it's not these 18-hour days that people talk about, but I will say between 8 and 5, we work hard.
Oh, I like that mentality. That's really great. Like get in there, get the job done, and then get out of there for the
Exactly,
day.
Kay. It's the South African way.
It, very true.
Yeah. South Africans don't like long hours, but you've got to do that here, unfortunately. People work hard. That's one thing I'll say in America. People work incredibly hard.
Yes. Well, with that being said, are you seeing emerging leaders on your team currently?
Yeah, I think very much so. I think I was fortunate in that I spoke about a software company that we started sort of 20 odd years ago, but more 23 odd years ago. And there were a lot of fairly junior guys in there. That command structure of that company was very different in that it was very autocratic from the old CEO. So a lot of them came through and were ready for the challenge. So we got 5 young guys in that 50 group of 57 people, women and men, kind of a good mix. In fact, 3 women, 2 men of those 5 guys who are very, very suited to leading the company rather than just remaining in the current role that they're in, which is, it's quite positive for me. I'm getting on, so it's nice to see, the challenges they give me, and good to see their insight also as to what's going on.
That's really cool because it's so like when you have that a good solid team and minds that are really moving in the right direction, I think that can be such a like project you forward in the best ways.
Big time. I think it's the most important aspect of our business, without a doubt.
Definitely. And do you see any challenges with team development or kind of what's going on with the kind of the hard side of building a team?
I think it's interesting. You'll have we spoke about this briefly before. You'll have a number of team members, everyone's pulling in the same direction. And if you get the wrong person in that team, within our team, we're still a very small company. It obviously can have quite difficult, sort of circumstances. It can make or consequences. I mean, we've had situations where we've gone to trade shows and had a salesman hit on someone quite openly and blatantly. And, those things we really have got an understanding that we deal with it very quickly. Certainly the management team, these five guys that are around me will typically want to deal with things very, very quickly. And we've learned over the last 3 years, cut the cancer out as quickly as possible and move on. So of course there's challenges with staff. I'm very pleased to say that it's in the vast minority. It's not easy. You know what it's like. It's running a sort of a startup and a slightly smaller business. I sat down the other day with a client who she runs a pretty big insurance company, and she said, "Oh, you had to fire your salesperson at a conference. That wasn't good. You really need to think about, you're building up, more people in your HR team. How many people are in your HR team?" Well, there's kind of the five of us managers, and that's what we do. So obviously, if there's that difficult transition in the early days where you don't have a full HR team who can vet everyone to the extent you want to, but largely we've been lucky.
That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. And looking at your kind of like your growth trajectory, where do you see your company growing in the next 3 to 5 years?
It's an interesting market. It's the insurance software side is pretty interesting. We've actually just undertaken quite a big research process, which we brought in a research house to go through. They basically interviewed 500 people in the insurance industry, all the way from leaders to inputters of data, um, and try to get an understanding of exactly where the weak points were. There are a few incumbents in the market, legacy players. I would say there's three very large players who very much dominate the market, and they crow a lot about, how, dominant they are, their software, etc. One of the most scary things that for them that I saw was, firstly, their software is getting old and it's starting to fall into the space where when we entered the market, that's where mainframes were. But they obviously need to modernize themselves. But one of the biggest sort of disturbing factors for them, but the best things for us, was our biggest competitor today is not these top three insurance, PAS providers. It's Excel. Excel provides 55% of the policy administration software, which is music to our ears, in light of the fact that this kind of software has been around for the last 26 years. And the interesting thing is the user experience under Excel is leaps and bounds above, the incumbents. So the opportunity for us is huge. We are new to the market. We've only realistically been in the market since 2025. So the upside for us really is massive in terms of what's out there. I mean, we could certainly match what the incumbents, are the numbers that they're at within the next 10 years. But it's tough. Honestly, the early days, getting people to believe you, getting people to not just go the standard, unless you buy, buy IBM and you won't get fired. It's very similar in our industry. It's the same in every industry. But, it's time. That's all it is.
Definitely. So that actually leads perfectly into my next question around your marketing and how are you marketing yourself in the industry?
It's not easy. As I mentioned, I think one of the most important things is getting in with C-suite executives. I think I mentioned that I came from South Africa and the UK market, and obviously have a good presence in that market. Whereas here, I've only been in the US for 3 years. And it's connection with C-suite executives that ultimately gets you over the line. However, just getting our name out there is very much a function of marketing. We have only recently started really focusing on the marketing side. We're busy building a marketing team now, and everything that comes with it, the message that we get across, what people are looking for in terms of, the message that we send. I truly believe the software will make a major difference to any insurance carrier or reinsurance carrier's life. But how do we get that message across? And so, as I say, we're building a marketing team around that. Conferences are always good. I think that's been, the best source for us. In the past, we've got a total of only 5 clients at the moment, but each client that we pick up is a real needle changer in terms of, the income that it generates. We've got about 10 in the pipeline, and I would say at least 50% of those 15 odd clients have been generated through conferences. But it's early days, and obviously we need to change that balance more as the marketing side develops.
Oh, that's very cool. Thank you for the insights. I
Mm,
think that's a huge nugget for all sorts of industries and business owners out there because getting past that threshold is it's like the hardest part, but then once you're there, once you like persevere through that and find those paths, it's like so many doors open.
absolutely. I think the first client we got, I think we realized the significance of it. It was tiny. We would never make a profit on it, but someone took a leap of faith. I mean, there wasn't a beer, there wasn't enough beer in Austin that night. I mean, we truly understood the significance of what that meant. And it was a real game changer, just also for our psyche and our confidence, to know that we had it, that we had the ability to get a client.
So true. It's like it just gives you that push, like, okay, we're in the right direction. We're creating something that people find valuable, and now it's just duplicating that.
Absolutely. I think you know that as well as I do. Yeah.
Oh, it can be such a challenge. But looking at kind of like where do you want to see your team grow to in the next as you're going down this new path in the next couple of years? Do you want to like double your team, keep it as is, steady? Like what's kind of your goals with your team?
And and then an ideal world would probably be the situation where we could pick and choose our clients, and keep the team, fairly sort of, flat. But I think the truth is that we pretty much in a place where there will be a lot of opportunity, but obviously we will need to grab that. I mean, we will comfortably, more than double our team within the next 18 months. And then from there, I comfortably see us going over, sort of 200 employees within the next 3 years. So I think there's a lot of scope for us to employ more people, and we have to employ more people. There's obviously some AI aspects which not only for our clients but also for ourselves, do bring in a lot of time saving. But that being said, you still need a lot of bums in seats in terms of just being able to generate the code, and basically software engineers are required on our side.
Definitely. AI is such a hot topic right now. In what ways are you using AI to help your business grow?
I think from our side, it's the biggest thing for us is really integrating with software, with AI sort of providers and large language models, be it outsourced AI in the actuarial field, be it in the accounting field. We just integrate with them and provide solid data. And that's something that's sorely lacking in the market at the moment. There was, I don't know if you've heard of Swiss Re, but they're a pretty large European reinsurance company. They are really bemoaning the fact that they've got this amazing AI and large language model and predictive modeling, but the data that they get in is absolutely dreadful, which is just throwing everything out and just not allowing them to utilize it. One of the things that we try and solve is the ability to deliver clean data, which will basically, make sure that your predictive modeling is accurate.
Hmm.
So it's a slightly different angle. It's not quite diving into the AI side, but really just supporting it.
Oh, definitely. Especially when you're looking at that data that the outcome is usable
Correct.
and worth the time for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, the time has flown. It has been such a great conversation so far, and now I want to get into a fun part of our Q&A called our rapid fire. And so I'll be asking you 4 questions and answer very top of mind.
Perfect. I will indeed.
All right. Question number one is, what is a key to success for you?
Um, I think being predictable for our clients and unpredictable for our competitors. That would probably be the most basic view.
That is like great advice. I'm like writing that down for sure. It's very simple but very profound. I love that. Number two is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Make sure you're in the office at 8 o'clock, and make sure you only leave after 5 o'clock. Sorry, I know it is so basic. And by the way, I plagiarized from a very successful guy. My kids were asking him, saying, "What are we going to need to do in the future?" And he just said, "If you arrive at 8 and leave at 5, you're pretty much going to become the CEO." So I think so long as you just do your hard work in those hours. I mean, obviously, I think any successful business involves a number of team members who work incredibly hard. I mean, I'm very blessed, as I say, to have guys around me who work incredibly hard. And I think you just put in the hours and you'll get whatever you need.
Very true. I love that. Number three is, what is either a book, it could be a podcast, an article, just something that's resonated with you recently.
So I've just finished a book, and that's a brilliant question. I've actually just finished one of the most incredible books. That was it wasn't he didn't recommend it personally, but Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's old business partner, who very sadly passed away, one of the great geniuses of our time. He recommended a book called The Psychology of Influence by a guy called Roberto Cialindi. It might just be Robert Cialindi. I don't know why I say Roberto, but maybe the Italian surname. But anyway, it is an incredible book, and it'll, if you read that, I think you could literally sell ice to Eskimos. And the point of what Charlie Munger was saying was read this and you'll understand how salesmen work, and often that you're being sold something that you don't need. But it is the psychology of sales and influence. It is incredible. It is an absolutely fascinating read. It's not overly complicated. It's fairly scientific, but very, very written in layman's terms. And as I say, it really knocked the socks off me. I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, I just put that one down. I'm adding it to my read list. It sounds like a great read.
Absolutely.
All right, final question in the rapid fire. If you had a magic wand and could overnight rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
Our marketing department, getting our message across to clients. That okay, I think you understand that you understand the science of marketing better than anyone in this world. But it is tough for businesses like ours to do that. The value that we can get from that is incredible, but and not having it really hurts, and it's something that we need to focus on big time. And it's not waving a magic wand. I'm afraid it is quite hard work. Anyway.
Oh, I wish I could give you a magic wand right now.
Exactly.
Oh, well, thank you for answering the rapid fire. Let's start with your marketing right now. How can folks get plugged in with you and your business online?
Oh, awesome. So obviously on LinkedIn, the name of the business is Intex, INTX. Our website is intxis.com, so intexinsurancesoftware.com. And it's yep, and that's probably the best way to do it. I'm sure you'll find us online somewhere. But appreciate the plug for us.
Of course. Well, thank you, Rob, for our final question today. What is most inspiring to you today?
Young people in America, as I mentioned, the team we've got working for us have blown me away. I honestly come in every day. I'm, getting on, as I say, and I've seen quite a lot in my life, but it is quite inspiring to see how motivated people are, their work ethic, their ability to see problems, and, their motivation in a startup. It's not easy when you're covering multiple bases and you don't necessarily have a structure that you just slot yourself into. So that inspires me. It does inspire me. It gives me hope for my children that there's lots of opportunities. And I think the world's in good hands, despite what we probably read every day. I do think that what's lies ahead of us is only going to be better than what we saw behind us.
I love that outlook, and I completely agree with you. So, Rob, thank you so much. This has been such a joy to share this conversation, share about your business, and share about all the things you're working on.
Cool. Thank you, Kay. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you.